because this is our future. And if you're listening and you're not here, and we have a great crowd, thank you all for coming. Make sure that you think about the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November and vote. And if you don't vote and you don't like what goes on, keep it to yourself. It's kind of your responsibility to cast your vote. So let me turn it over to the 20-year mayor of Watertown, the most honorable Jeff.
Election Day is 3 weeks away, and the race for Watertown City Council is heating up. Tonight, the candidates face off live at the Italian American Club on AM 1240 WATN Watertown and 100.7 The Eagle WEFX Henderson. Now, here's former mayor and host of The Hotline, Jeff Graham.
Thank you very much there, and good evening from the Italian American Civic Association on Bellew Avenue in Watertown, where we're doing a debate tonight for the 4 candidates for City Council. Tomorrow night, we will be hosting the 2 mayoral candidates here at the same location. I want to stress the public is more than welcome to be here in person. They'll be able to ask questions here, or if you just want to be content to listen on the radio or to join us on NBC Watertown's website, that's good too. Now, we've got our 4 candidates, Timothy Babcock, Dr. Robert Kimball, Ben Schoen, and Leonard Spaziani. Why don't we just start and go down the line? We'll start on the left side here, and just give a brief bio of yourself and introduce yourself. Mr. Babcock?
Grew up in the area, graduated from General Brown, and then after graduation, seeing there isn't much for jobs in the area, I did move away for 20 years, and 7.5 years ago, my family and I moved back, as we did find an opportunity to move back to this area. And so, just trying to make Watertown a better place and make it a place my kids can be proud of, and my kids can stay so they don't have to move away, like I did.
Dr. Robert Kimball?
Yeah, my name is Bob Kimball. I grew up actually in Geneva, New York, which has a lot of similarities, I think, to Watertown. After college, I accepted an Army scholarship and went to medical school in New York City and did my surgery training in the Army, and then spent 33 years as a general surgeon, 3 years in Germany with the Army, and 30 years here at Samaritan Medical Center. I retired just over a year ago and was planning on doing some golf and woodwork, and I did fit in some golf. I haven't got to the woodwork yet, and I found another activity to keep me busy, and I'm running for city council because my kids are here, my grandkids are here, and I think we have a lovely city, and I think we need to continue to work to make it even better.
Thank you, Doctor. And now Ben Schoen.
Hey, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Ben Schoen from Watertown. I was born here. I've lived here my entire life. Educated here locally, Holy Family and IHC. Went to JCC for 2 years, and have had a construction business in Watertown for the last 25 years. I love the community, and I'm hoping that people will love it as much as me and want to stay here and come back to Watertown. And I have nephews that live here, a niece, a daughter, and would like to make Watertown a place for them to want to stay.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ben Schoen. And a gentleman who always reminds me of great pizza because of his family, Leonard Spaziani.
Thank you. Leonard Spaziani, I'm 76 years old. Why am I doing this? It's a good question. Born and raised here, whole family lives here. My 2 kids live out in California, and they keep saying, Watertown, the city of the future. How do I explain that to them? That it isn't. We're at a tipping point, and things have been happening the last 4 to 5, 6 years that haven't been crazy about. Can I change them? Probably not, but if I can instill that idea that they could be changed down the road and Watertown can revitalize itself, then I think I've done my job. Like I say, I was born and raised here, and they will bury me here, and I appreciate the effort for tonight.
Thank you very much to our 4 candidates. Here's how we're going to work things this evening. We've got several questions from the audience in writing. We will provide an open microphone later in the event for those who want to speak their questions, and I'll throw a couple out as well. So we'll try to be as fair as possible, but we got a good variety here now. there are no incumbents sitting in front of me now, but what's at stake in this is what some people have called the Gang of Three, and that would be the votes that tended to stick together: Ruggiero, Olney, and Hickey, Mr. Hickey, who's not going to be on the council. So really, this election in some ways determines whether that Gang of Three will stay together on some issues or whether it'll swing to a different side. In other words, what has up till now been the mayor's side, I guess. I watch these meetings and I see a rivalry going on. Are you, Mr. Spaziani, you're most linked to Ruggiero and that group, and your signs are on the same lawns and properties? Are you part of the Gang of Three and you want to continue it?
Don't take this as disrespect, but I think you're disillusional. I'm not a Gang of Three. I'm my own person. I'm an independent person. Just because my signs are on the same lawn with them does not necessarily mean that I'm going to vote with them all the time. If you go back and you look at the 8 months that I was on council, look how many times I voted no against them, okay? And that Gang of Three is a misnomer. The only thing that Brian Ashley and I do agree on, it should be at least 7 people on council so you can get away from that Gang of Three. You don't have the pivot man. But to answer your question, no, I will not be that person. If I agree with them, fine. If I don't, I'll vote against it. Not unless they can convince me that that's the proper way to go.
Okay. Well, I'd like to ask the rest of you, do you view this election as some kind of pivotal swing away from one faction to another, Mr. Schoen?
As far as the public sentiment, I believe that they probably, for the most part, from what I hear, believe there is kind of a gang or a clique. As far as this being pivotal, it'd be nice just to elect people who actually do freely think and don't have to align with any specific group. And I mean that like locally and nationally, because that kind of gets us into the position where we don't make any real progress. We fight each other and nothing gets done.
Okay. Doctor, any thoughts on that?
Well, I don't like the term Gang of Three. It sounds more ghetto than it should be. I mean, there is a majority and there's a minority right now. But the disruption is not always from the three that you have lumped together. The disruption comes from other individuals on the minority clashing with the majority members of the council. And there's always going to be issues where people disagree, and there's a majority that votes for it and a minority that votes against it, and that's just politics. And I think we need to get away from all the finger-pointing, name-calling, and just get back to doing business.
Okay. Mr. Babcock, the mayor will be gone, so it is going to change the dynamics of council meetings, don't you think?
Everything's going to change a little bit, but I think the one thing that's there way too much is the emotions, the boisterous outbursts from either side. And you know, it's just like business. If you made your business decisions based on emotion, most people's businesses wouldn't be around. You got to stick to the facts, look at it, make educated decisions, and take the emotions out of it. And there's too much emotion in this council right now. They're too focused on trying to prove each other wrong versus looking at the facts to move forward. They don't take all the facts, just their own perception of their own facts.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Babcock. We'll go to some of the questions from our audience here. I'll kind of lump this one together. A lot of times people talk about, in these races, leadership and vision. What do those words mean as it relates to this race? We'll start off with Dr. Kimball.
Leadership and vision. Well, I think for the city council, leadership starts with the mayor and setting a tone that is appropriate, and but it also counts on the council members to live within the parameters that are set for the city council to interact with each other. I think if you're looking for grand leadership, as in I've got a vision for what's going to be the city of Watertown, I can't say that I have formulated something like that. There are a number of things I can point to and say, these are wonderful features of Watertown, and I think we need to do things to try and enhance those. But I think right now what we need is just a steady hand on the tiller and somebody keeping an eye on the finances of the organization and try and move us forward in incremental steps.
Well, you opened a door there. You said that the selection of the mayor is pivotal to the atmosphere, ambiance, whatever you want to call it. Who would you like to see as the next mayor? And don't just say a woman, because it'll be.
I think a woman will be a perfect person to be in that role. But I'm not going to announce who I'm voting for mayor here. I think everybody should study the candidates and determine who they think is going to speak best for them.
Okay. Well, let's ask the rest of you on this topic of leadership and vision and so on. And, you know, that sort of relates to the position of mayor as well. If you want to add some thoughts on that, Mr. Spaziani?
There's a lot. I mean, the way our government is formed, you have the mayor, then you have the four council people. But who really runs the day-to-day operation? And that's the city manager. So if you don't have good communication between the city manager and the council, your leadership goes down the drain. Your future or your ideas go down the drain because my ideas will go down the drain because they have their ideas. There has to be transparency between the city manager and the department heads and council. Council has the final say as far as I'm concerned. They just, you know, we'll do it this way, we won't tell council. No, it's not that, we shouldn't be that way. And I think the last couple of administrations, that's the way it's been, which again creates frustration with the people and people on the council, be it the mayor, be it one of the councilmen. Frustration is built up, and you lose that, and you create that frustration. Your leadership and your direction that the city's going is gone.
Mr. Schoen, any thoughts about the top of the ticket here and what it can provide?
As far as leadership with our mayor, I think the general tone of the meetings will change, and I think either one will probably run the meetings differently. We definitely need somebody who's willing to work both sides and make sure that these meetings go smoothly, because not that they have direct oversight over the council members, but you can lead the council into the right direction. And by doing that, we're going to have good, positive leadership and a vision for progress and success and financial guidance going forward. So just better, more concise attitude.
Okay. Mr. Babcock, you make some great dip out at your plant in Lafargeville. You want to talk about leadership?
So it's just like where I work, you know. We have a leadership in Linfield, Massachusetts. They give us our direction and then we move forward. The city council is no different. They should be giving the direction to the city manager and how they want to move forward. The problem I see with what's going on is the city council is so divided, there's no direction for that group to move forward because you have one side pulling this way, one side pulling this way, and it's got to get together. As far as the mayor, with the change, I think you'll see that. With the dynamic of 3 different people on city council, whoever it is, the dynamic's going to change. And I think you'll see that either way. And hopefully it does change in that direction that's given. I mean, I don't blame Mr. Mix for leaving. I wouldn't stay under this dysfunction if I was working there either.
Okay. Let's go to another question from our audience, and I'll try to combine the different points here. Obviously, the city acquired a golf course this year, but there's also talk of the city possibly acquiring a zoo because of concerns over financing. What I'd like to ask all of you is, does the zoo have sufficient value to the community to keep open? Should local government increase its support, or should it close? And we'll start out with Doctor. We'll go to you.
Okay, so I get the zoo question. All right. Well, I think the zoo does have value to the community. I have enjoyed hours at the zoo. We are never going to be the Bronx Zoo or the National Zoo. We aren't going to have pandas up there. And the zoo recognized its position some years ago and decided that they would approach this as being a zoo for animals that would represent local species that have been here. And that plays into, we don't have to provide special habitats because this is their habitat. I think there is a value to it. And let's be clear, the city owns that zoo already. The only thing that is in question is who is going to administer that zoo. And currently there's a nonprofit organization or a conservancy that was established from some fans of the zoo to provide the administration of that. But all of the displays and the animals all belong to the city already. So if the conservancy turns its back and says we can't do it with this budget, then the city will be deciding what to do with it, whether to just mothball all the displays up there or tear it down, or whether to pony up the money. And I think, honestly, there should be a way to save that. I really do believe it's an asset, not just for Watertown, but for the surrounding area.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Schoen, you're a businessman. Do you think you should put more money into it? Obviously, to keep it running under the current model, you'd have to.
Well, I would have to see, so to say, the books of the zoo to see how much use we are getting, how many visitors we're getting, how much money is being brought in. Not that it necessarily needs to make money. I would assume something like that would probably have to be subsidized to a certain extent, but doesn't have to be subsidized by Watertown only. I mean, it's a community asset, and community involves Jefferson County, and I think Jefferson County, could pony up some additional funds for us if it's worthwhile, if the community wants the zoo. And I think you can determine whether they want the zoo by how much they use the zoo.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Spaziani, when I talk to people about the zoo, a lot of people, at least in our age group, say, well, I haven't been there in years or something like that. I don't know what your impressions are. But do you think the city can continue with this arrangement, or do you think they should close it or take it over, or
It
what?
should never be closed, but I mean, I don't have, it's not a cut and dry situation, but again, it's an asset to the city. I agree with Mr. Schoen. I feel the county should be stepping up and taking a little more responsibility, because we all pay county tax. What do we get in return? Nothing. And I think they've got, again, maybe they ought to take over the zoo, like they took over the airport. But the zoo should not close. It's an asset. And with, people, how many people come up through an 81 each summer? How many people really know it's there? But you can only do so much advertising with a limited budget.
Sure.
And to answer your question, we need the zoo. It's an asset.
I'll let you in on a little secret. I was talking to the deputy county treasurer today because she came in to be interviewed for her candidacy. She told me the county is sitting on $154 million down there. I couldn't believe it. I almost fell off the chair.
Well, how much of that should the Watertown get?
I don't know. It's a lot of money
Yeah.
by my book. Well, Mr. Babcock, what do you think about the zoo?
Last time I was up there was when my youngest daughter was invited to a birthday party, and we actually went up there. The kids had a great time. It was a very educational thing, so I think there's a lot of educational value because they did teach about the animals of our area. But like the other two have said, we need to know a little bit more about the books, what it is. I do think the county needs to be more involved. It shouldn't fall solely on the city. It is an asset to this area. So whether county's putting in more money, state's putting in more money, because as far as I know, we're the only city in the North Country that has a zoo. I mean, why aren't other areas helping us out with this?
Well, thank you very much. We'll give you a little chance to catch your breath here and get some more audience questions if you want to bring them up in writing, or I think we have the microphone ready as well. I want to remind you that Watertown Decides is brought to you by Herringer's Contracting, the roof people who will call you back, and LA Quarry, the destination for all your crushed limestone in the North Country. Deliver or pick it up at the quarry. Give them a call at 658-2004. And Watertown Decides will be back in just a moment.
Just contracting. The roof people, don't delay though. Call them to set up a free estimate. Call them now at 782-9129 for Harringer's Contracting. The roof people who call you back.
LA Quarry is the destination for all your crushed limestone. LA Quarry's been providing crushed limestone of various shapes and sizes to the residents of the North Country since 1991. The Thompson family have owned and operated the quarry in Lafargeville and are dedicated to providing fast and friendly service. Their local delivery option is available many times on the same day. Whether you're a contractor, a homeowner, or a business owner, LA Quarry has the limestone to improve your driveway and your property. Located at 19309 Grove Cemetery Road in Lafargeville, just watch for the huge sign next to the cemetery. LA Quarry is now doing driveways and stone pad foundations. Call them at 315-658-2004. That's 315-658-2004. For fast delivery or pickup of your crushed limestone, rely on LA Quarry and the Thompson family and see them on Facebook. Call them at 315-658-2004.
Hey, this is Taylor Caprera from FX Caprera in the Bay. The kids are back to school and you're driving all over the North Country to their sporting events. How are you getting there? Let me guess. Is it a new Chrysler Pacifica van with the plug-in hybrid technology? Or is it a new Jeep Wagoneer with the factory cinema DVD players? The kids love that. Maybe a new Ram truck is more your style. Make your buddies jealous and show up to hunting camp with a new diesel. Even though the doors are going back on the Wranglers this fall, the hottest deals are waiting for you and they're just opening up. And for all you business owners out there, FX Capura in the Bay is ready for the elements to come with new plow trucks in stock. You owe it to yourself to take the money-saving ride to the Bay, or hop on our website at fxabay.com. You will find convertibles, highline sedans, budget-friendly SUVs, tons of trucks, and you will even find off-road go-karts in stock right here at FX Capura. And for our St. Lawrence County friends, don't forget our busy little country store in Canton. We have something for everyone.
Some personal injury law firms promote multi-million-dollar payouts. Sylvia called me about the extent of her husband's injuries.
Sound like $1 million?
Nobody was awarded the maximum.
Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes. 1-800-608-3333, 215 Burnett Avenue in Syracuse, Watertown, Rochester, Binghamton, Montrose, PA, and Atlanta.
It's Jeep Adventure Days at Bob Johnson Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Watertown. Our stunning, state-of-the-art new facility brings you the power of Dodge, award-winning new Ram trucks, and the Jeep family of SUVs. Grand Cherokee, Jeep Compass, Gladiator, all with Bob Johnson pricing. Bob Johnson Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Watertown. This is where the savings are.
Bob Johnson's got your ride. Bob Johnson.
Cash and Leanne heard about Mattress Express's new promotion where you simply come in, comfort test 3 mattresses, and get a $25 prepaid Visa card. They knew we had a location in Evans Mills in the Walmart Plaza next to Navy Federal Credit Union and one on Arsenal Street across from Dunkin' Donuts. They went to Evans Mills. They tried the Tempur-Pedic first. They loved it. 8 different Tempur-Pedics. They then tried a Stearns & Foster. They couldn't believe we had 9 different purple mattresses. They settled on the number bed by Instant Comfort, the Q9 King Flex Head. Cash liked his side firm. He was a 40. We elevated his head and feet. He said his back had never felt so good. Leanne liked her side softer. She was a 22. We elevated her head a little higher, her feet a little less. She said it was like having her own bed. They qualified for and signed up for the 5 years, no interest, no money down, not a nickel. Went to the list of luxury rewards and chose a 75-inch flat screen TV. Stop in, try any 3 beds at Mattress Express and get a $25 prepaid Visa card. Hurry!
This is Watertown Decides on AM 1240 WATN and 100.7 The Eagle. Once again, here's Jeff Graham.
Well, good evening, one and all. Here we are live from the Italian-American Civic Association on Belleau Avenue in Watertown. I'm Jeff Graham, and we've got the 4 candidates for Watertown City Council here tonight. Timothy Babcock, Dr. Robert Kimball, Ben Schoen, and Leonard Spaziani. Well, I just got a question handed to me, and it says, Watertown has an issue with water quality which will cost approximately $50 million to correct. What priorities should City Council use to address this problem? And we'll start with Mr. Schoen.
Well, we're definitely going to have to be planning financially a significant amount of money to remedy that problem. We don't even actually have the solution to that yet. I know there's some ideas floated about a covered retention pond or the pretreatment area. I think there's also some issues with our reservoir at the park that people are unaware of that's going to cost us many, many more millions of dollars as well. So this $50 million on top of the 500, 600, 700,000 gallons of water a day that we're leaking out of the reservoir at the park costs the city a lot of money. So fiscal planning, and hopefully we get a good grant writer and somebody who's successful at attaining those funds for us, because we're not going to be able to do it on our own.
Okay, very good. Doctor, I'm sure you've told patients drink plenty of water, but do you tell them that in Watertown? Is it dangerous?
I don't think that the water at its current level is dangerous, although I do know people who have told me they don't drink the water or they use a charcoal filter or something. Certainly the treatment for the disinfectant byproducts is an essential thing. And I think there is a pretty good plan, as I understand it right now. They've had a pilot program running for a while that they just dismantled. And it's going to be a three separate stages to modifying the water treatment process. I suspect this is going to be a multi-year process that's going to take 3 to 5 years or more. And I suspect that there are going to be times along the way where there will be funds that we can apply for grants, either from the state or the feds, to pay part of that. Otherwise, you know, you finance this or you bond this over 30 years, and we're spending $1.7 million a year for the water for the next 30 years.
Babcock, $50 million is a staggering figure to be just told you have to spend this just to have the same water that we've been drinking for years. Is that kind of frustrating to you? I know it is to me in some ways.
Well, I don't drink the city water. I do drink bottled water in my house because my water tastes like mold and it tastes like chlorine. I don't do it. So we do buy flats of water each week. But in the end, I'm willing to bet, because the longer this goes on, the more expensive it's going to get. I mean, we're looking at putting an addition on out at the plant. Last year, the addition would have cost us between 5 and 6 million. This year, we just got the new estimates. It's 10 million. So, I mean, it's going to be even more the longer we put this off. We need to get it started. Now, the full 50 million, I don't believe we'll have to cover. I believe there are other entities within the area that do have to pick up part of the cost, by what I've heard. But we need to get started on something soon and start the plan, whether it's a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, 15-year plan, or even, as Dr. Kimball just said, a 30-year plan. We need to get something started soon. We can't just keep kicking the can down the road. And I know people say there is something started, but don't see any action yet.
Yeah. Very good. Mr. Spaziani, you've been drinking that water all your life. You look good to me.
Well, look at me. I mean, no, seriously though, they've known about this problem for many years, and they've kicked the can down the road, and you can't kick it any farther. The can is flat. However, there's approximately, from what I understand, $45 to $50 million in grants that are available out there, but the city has to get a grant writer to go after them. And what they fail to understand is that Dank is going to pick up, I think, either 20 or 25% of that. And I want to say this: I think Dank should have a seat at that table when it comes to the design of all this, because they've got some pretty smart people there, and I've talked to them, and, you know, if they're going to come up with $12 million, they should have a say, all right? Secondly, how can you put a value on a human life? We're not, you know, this isn't an insurance company. If it costs $75 million, okay, we've got to do it. If you want healthy people, you've got to do it. You've got to bite the bullet somewhere and do it. Or say, okay, you know, we're only going to do this much, and if your liver goes bad, so what? For, you know, from the chemicals in the water. There's many ways of doing it. I just want to make sure it's done right the first time, that they don't have to, when it is completed, they don't have to revisit it another 5 or 6 years down the road.
Okay, thank you very much. My good friend and colleague Glenn Curry is in the room, host of the Live at 5 show on AM 1240. And I know he's got a microphone. If someone wants to speak a question, they don't have to let me read it. Anybody?
Jason, come on up.
So we're going to have an individual come up and ask a question. Glenn?
Check. Thank you very much, Jeff Graham and Hotline host. And here's Jason Trainer with the first question from the audience.
Yes, how you guys doing today? My question simply is a lot of the individuals up there do support the golf course, reckless spending, and the pools, and we got a water upgrade we need to do. How are you going to pay for all this, and are you going to raise people's taxes?
Thank you very much. I guess there's several points there. How do you pay for it, and what about some of these past expenditures? Mr. Babcock, you want to start, or?
Yeah. So the golf course, I am a golfer. I mean, look, yesterday I had the opportunity to go down and play Trump National Golf Course in Bedminster, New Jersey. Beautiful course. If you ever get the chance, go. It was a great invitation. I love golf. My son plays golf at the park. Once, twice, 3 times a week, we play golf together. I mean, golf is good. I mean, I don't know that I would have spent $3.4 million on a golf course, but I'm a fan of golf. No, I believe he was in Mar-a-Lago.
Oh, okay.
Mar-a-Lago. There was no
Okay.
Secret Service there, so
Okay.
I believe he was gone. But I love golf. I mean, so that is a cost that we have now. We have to deal with it. I mean, I hope we can make it work as a golf course. The future will tell on that. But as far as paying for the future and paying for some of these things, you know, we should actually be looking at how we can make money. One of the things that we can do is look at municipal internet. You know, my mother-in-law who lives out in Utah, her city did it. They put it in, they worked with Google, and they pay approximately, I think it's $50 or $70 a month for high-speed internet, about 3 times what we have for high-speed internet through our service provider here in the city. And that also includes their TV stations as well, their locals, everything. And so $50 to $70 a month. And the city that they're in makes approximately $3 to $4 million a year off of that.
Wow.
I don't see why we couldn't look at that. I know the city would have to spend some money to do upgrades, but there's a lot of grants out there right now, I mean, to expand your internet services and do that. So I don't know why we shouldn't be looking at doing something like that to be able to build some income. And then with Micron going in down the road, if we could pull up 5% of their employees, so 2,000 to 2,500 employees in the future, those are all high-paying jobs. You know, because we have the internet service to be able to draw them to the area to be able to work from home. You know, that brings more income as well.
Okay. Well, how do we pay for all of this at a time when we're also looking at probably losing $5 million a year on the hydro deal in just a very few short years? Doctor, any thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think to Mr. Trainer's question, I think that the pool and golf course deals are done deals, and the only thing I would say about the golf course is that it is one of the few city assets that's probably going to pay for itself. Having now bought it, we have to protect the assets that are there, but they are probably going to make enough money to cover the cost of running the golf course. So that is not a strike against us financially at this point. As far as the tax question, I would like to limit tax increases as much as possible, but I cannot say that taxes will not go up. The same inflation that everybody else has faced, currently about 3.7%. Last year it hit 11 or something like that for a short period of time, but it's significantly improved now. That still affects everything that the city purchases as well. The salaries of the employees who wanted their salaries to go up as well. And so everything is more expensive for the city as well. And so we either need to figure out how to raise more money from some other enterprise, or taxes will have to go up, because it's the only area that the city controls completely.
Okay. I know you mentioned last night there was a resolution before the council about trying to increase production at the hydro plant, and you thought that resolution was premature?
That was what I said, because all it specified in the resolution, it seemed like a fairly rough resolution to me to just seek requests for proposals of how to increase the amount of power we can produce.
Mhm.
And that was not contained within any larger outline of how that fits into what the plan is. Now, personally, people talk about this cliff of the hydropower, and we're going to go off a cliff and we're going to lose $3.5 to $4.5 million roughly per year. I think we'll still get some revenue from the power plant, but I think what this says is that for the next 6.5 years while that contract is in play and we're making big money at National Grid's expense, we need to be very wise about how we spend that money.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Schoen, you're a businessman. You probably have an outlook on this?
Yeah, definitely, you have to be concerned about the money that you spend now, because you won't have that money in the future, or if we're spending long-term, if we're bonding for projects, that increases the cost to the taxpayers. So we have, say you bond something for $10 million, it may end up costing you $15 million eventually. So every year that's going to cost more. And we just found out about this recently, pension costs are going to go up about $1 million. We have healthcare costs going up probably the same. We're not on par with other areas around us as far as paying our help. So we're going to have to make up more money there. We're going to have to pay them more, which means the taxes eventually will go up. The fact that we haven't been raising taxes to make up for even inflation will eventually hurt us. I know nobody wants to see their taxes go up, and our taxes are already too high here for what we get. I'd like to see more county participation. They obviously are holding on to a lot of money. They're pushing a lot of their responsibility onto the city of Watertown, and you can see that just in the amount of buildings that the county occupies or other nonprofit services occupy in Watertown. So if we could get them to pay their fair share and help subsidize our budget, which is basically our money, they could give us a shot at being fiscally solvent in the future. As far as tax revenue increases, it would be nice to say that we can get more sales tax revenue, but with a decreased amount of private business here, it's going to be hard to make that up year over year. So unless we figure out a way to draw more business into Watertown, I don't see that happening. We can make things more efficient. We can make our buildings more efficient. We could try to be more energy efficient with different things. I know it won't make a big difference, but, you know, solar power, whatever we can do to try to lessen our burden on you know, paying National Grid or whoever else we get energy from.
Thank you. Ben Schoen and Mr. Spaziani.
Which one do you want me to answer first? I'm a little
Well, I
confused.
mean, there's, where are we going to get the money, and what about taxes?
Okay, so we're going back to the golf course, right? Okay, that's 3.4 mil. Well, I mean, it's kind of a complicated issue because you've got 5 on the council, and you got 3 who want to buy it, 2 don't. And what hurt was that there was no communication amongst them, even if they should have been, all 5 should have sat down, and maybe they could have come up with, these are all hypothetical that went through my mind. Maybe one of the opposition could have said, looked in the other eye and says, listen, do we really care whether Ives Hill has a deed restriction? Is that going to bother us? No. Mr. Lundy, let's scratch that part. What's that going to cost? What about your golf carts? Would it be cheaper if we leased them than buy them? Maybe we'll lease them. Mr. Lundy, we don't want that. Or, Mr. Lundy, we just want your land. We don't care about the golf course. Can we make a deal on that? And by the way, I met Mike Lundy once, and I asked him that specific question, and he said yes, but it was never approached on it. So,
Was
again,
the deal dirty in some way, though?
What's that?
Was that deal dirty in some way? There's been
How could it be
allegations.
dirty?
Well, on these memes that are out there.
Well,
they
who
use-
cares about that?
Well, they say
Well,
words
really.
like bribery. I
Well,
don't
really,
know.
I mean, that's idle chat, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you look at the nuts and bolts. All 5 of them, I know them all. They all have their own ideas. They're all individuals. Were some mistakes made? Yeah. We know in the heat of an argument, it happens. It's like a family. But as far as dirt, I don't believe it.
Okay. That said, we want to take a break here and remind you, Watertown Decides is brought to you by Herringer's Contracting, the roof people who call you back, and LA Quarry, the destination for all your crushed limestone in the North Country. Give them a call at 658-2004. Be back in a moment.
There's a lot of things that need changing. One of them could be your roof. If so, get Herringer's Contracting to fix it or replace it altogether. Don't delay, though. Call now to set up your free estimate. Call 782-9129 for Herringer's Contracting, the people who
LA
call you
Quarry
back.
is the destination for all your crushed limestone. LA Quarry's been providing crushed limestone of various shapes and sizes to the residents of the North Country since 1991. The Thompson family have owned and operated the quarry in Lafargeville and are dedicated to providing fast and friendly service. Their local delivery option is available many times on the same day. Whether you're a contractor, a homeowner, or a business owner, LA Quarry has the limestone to improve your driveway and your property. Located at 19309 Grove Cemetery Road in Lafargeville, just watch for the huge sign next to the cemetery. LA Quarry is now doing driveways and stone pad foundations. Call them at 315-658-2004. That's 315-658-2004. For fast delivery or pickup of your crushed limestone, rely on LA Quarry and the Thompson family and see them on Facebook. Call them at 315-658-2004.
Hey y'all, it's the mouth of the South, Carolina Chuck, down here at FX Caprera Honda in H2O Town. And it's fall, y'all, so come see Chuck to get your truck, to get them bucks, and to pull them does. FX Caprera Honda is loaded down with trucks. We got so many trucks out here, it looks like the DPAO is putting on another country show. So this one's for the hunters out there. I want to see your deer. Follow Carolina Chuck and tag me in your deer picks. On November 21st, I'm going to pick a random winner to win a $200 gift card for Runnings Outdoors. So show Chuck your buck. That's Carolina Chuck on Facebook. And FX Caprera Honda is a Honda store. I just got myself a brand new Honda Accord EXL Hybrid. I'd love to tell you all about it. We also got the very popular CRVs. Winter ready rides. All-wheel drive, got the heated seats for your cheeks, and some of them even got a snow mode. Save some bucks on a new Honda at FX Caprera. And don't forget to show Carolina Chuck your bucks on Facebook.
A psoriasis flare-up can make a walk in the park, well, no walk in the park.
It's that obvious, huh? I've tried so many lotions and creams, but I still have symptoms.
So those don't do enough to treat the inflammation beneath the skin, leaving you with those uncontrolled symptoms.
Makes sense, but what else can I do?
You can get real with your dermatologist so they can help you get clear. Make an appointment and, oh, you're already on it.
Hi, yes, I'd like to make an appointment.
Get real clear about psoriasis at letsgetrealclear.com. Sponsored by Abbott.
Cash and Leanne heard about Mattress Express's new promotion where you simply come in, comfort test 3 mattresses, and get a $25 prepaid Visa card. They knew we had a location in Evans Mills in the Walmart Plaza next to Navy Federal Credit Union and one on Arsenal Street across from Dunkin' Donuts. They went to Evans Mills. They tried the Tempur-Pedic first. They loved it. 8 different Tempur-Pedics. They then tried a Stearns & Foster. They couldn't believe we had 9 different purple mattresses. They settled on the number bed by Instant Comfort, the Q9 King Flex Head. Cash liked his side firm. He was a 40. We elevated his head and feet. He said his back had never felt so good. Leanne liked her side softer. She was a 22.
Online at FusilloSubaru.com, or of course you can stop in and see us again. 3.9% APR on a new 2023 Subaru Forester. That is
huge.
Example, new 2023 Subaru Forester Limited, model code PFI-01, MSRP 37,635, cost per thousand financed is
on Belleau Avenue in Watertown, and we're talking to our 4 council candidates, Timothy Babcock, Dr. Robert Kimball, Ben Schoen, and Leonard Spaziani. In the audience is our good friend Glenn Curry, who has a question.
On the microphone first, and we have a question from Kelly.
Good evening. Mother of 2 children who attend Watertown High School, and I'm really happy to report that with the newly elected members to our Watertown School Board, we were able to accomplish a lot and really delve into some problems that the other board members and the board prior had, namely transparency. There were a lot of closed-door meetings. There were a lot of things the public didn't know. There were a lot of things that parents. Now with these new elected members, things are going in the right direction. It's really a very positive experience. I'm just wondering if you can speak on the topic of transparency and the fact that the community members will know what's going on.
Okay, thank you, Kelly, for that. Why don't we start with Ben Schoen?
Transparency came up a lot during the last election, and we were promised transparency, and I think some of the initial decisions that this council made showed that that wasn't actually the truth. Transparency would mean letting the taxpayers know exactly what they're getting for their money and letting them be involved in the process and don't hold anything back from them. So no, as she said, no closed-door meetings, no non-disclosure agreements, everything in the forefront. I don't think that any public funds should be spent without the public who pays for these things to know how and why they're being spent. It's essential that the government works for the people that elected them, and I think sometimes we forget that.
Okay. Mr. Babcock, what do you think about transparency?
Well, I think it should be more transparent. Yes, there are some things that you can't be transparent on, whether it be HR issues or things along those lines. Those type of things need to stay behind closed doors due to legalities and other stuff. But as far as what went on there was very little transparency in what was going on, having closed door sessions, not allowing the public to speak. There was very little transparency in a lot of those transactions. And so I think it has to be open. You know, if you're not willing to share, if you're not willing to listen, why are you even in the office to begin with?
Mr. Spaziani, transparency?
It's funny you say that, you know, because I'm running on clarity, sincerity, and transparency. I ran on that when I was a write-in. However, I'll take some issue with Mr. Babcock, and he says that people weren't allowed to speak, and I'm assuming that it goes back to the golf course. There are certain rules and regulations in special meetings, and privilege of the floor is not one of them. As far as non-disclosure agreements, different municipalities go in, have that, like down in, was it Cicero or Solvay, where that big chip manufacturing is going in down there? Didn't that legislature, county legislature, whoever was involved in the politics, didn't they have to sign a non-disclosure agreement? Yes. So I don't think there was anything tricky, funny, dirty, whatever you want to say, on that golf course when it comes to transparency. No, I'm sorry. If you think somebody got bought off, then no. What happened, Mayor, is the fact that you had 5 people on council, 2 of them refused to work with the other 3. Plain and simple as that. They should have worked. Mayor Walker said, okay, you got to go in there, you got to make a deal one way or another. They refused to do it. So let's, you know, there's no transparency there because they didn't want to do it. They threw it up against the wall and see what's going to stick. Simple.
Okay. Doctor, you want to talk about transparency?
I'm for it.
Okay.
I mean, but let's be clear, there's a lot of people who complain after the fact about nobody told them anything, but the information was right there for them to see if they'd looked a little harder to find it. And so I think everything that the council does, with the exception of those things in executive session, should be available publicly, and I haven't found any problems finding the information that I wanted to find.
Well, this golf course deal and other matters, tax payments and so on, was the subject of a press release put out today by mayoral candidate Campo Pierce. She accused her opponent of signing an NDA to conceal the details of the $3.4 million deal, which she says was orchestrated by an individual. She claims that Ms. Ruggiero voted at a special meeting to prevent the public from speaking about the deal. She also goes on to say voted to approve a deal to purchase the golf course for $3.4 million, $850,000 of which went to one individual, and recent documents say that may be as much as $1.7 million. She voiced support for considering a deal where Mr. Simeo offered to pay his taxes in exchange for certain information from council members. Now, these are serious accusations that go to the issue of transparency and propriety in office. Mr. Spaziani, you're defending all of this, but there's a different viewpoint out there.
Well, of course, that's her viewpoint. Simple. She was against it, and they threw up a roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. If they would have sat down, like I said earlier, maybe a deal could have been made. And a lot of this hatred that is out there, because I've been told, you know, you're one of them, you were for the golf course, get off my porch. Okay, really. I mean, they divided and conquered. And they threw things up against the wall to see what was going to stick. Now, when it comes to the special meeting, there's a rule. You go in, you say the Pledge of Allegiance, you say what you have to do, you take care of the business, and then you go. There's no privilege of the floor. No one was not due. That's what I'm looking for. No one was. I mean, they had the opportunity in the November meeting to say their piece. Simple. I mean, what Simeo did, I don't know. And what Simeo had, a deal that he had with Lundy, like Mr. Sly said, he wasn't going to deal with Simeo. That was between Lundy and Smale. So you pay X amount of dollars over here. You cannot control what goes on beyond that contract.
Yeah. Well, the rest of you gentlemen followed all of those deliberations. Mr. Schoen, you watched it from your vantage point. Was there something afoul in all of this?
I was at the meeting. I was at many of the meetings leading up to the golf course vote, and I was at the special meeting. And I believe personally that the reason that special meeting was called was so that the public would be silenced, so that there wouldn't be an opportunity for them to talk. because new information had come out, different financial details had come out after the last public input session on that. And for Mr. Spaziani to defend silencing the public, the people who are paying for this, excuse me, Mr. Spaziani, the rule is there is no public input unless the council votes to allow it, which is what they should have always done. You should never vote to silence the people who you are representing. I think it's disgusting.
That's your opinion.
Well, it's definitely my opinion, and it's the opinion of the majority of the people in Watertown who I've talked to. But the fact is, the rule states that you can have public input as long as council votes for it. 3 people voted to not have that, and that's an awful thing. It's a terrible thing. And it's a disconnect between the public and the people who are made to serve them.
No, it isn't. The disconnect is between the 2 people that created this whole thing. If they would have sat down with the other 3 and said, you know, okay, we're against it, but let's see what we can do for the betterment of the city. And what did they do? They said no. They forced the city to pay $3.4 million out of a checkbook when that should have been bonded.
It shouldn't have happened at all.
Well, that's a matter of opinion. Well, that's a matter of opinion. The golf course is an asset for this city. Mr. Thompson underbid it.
I thought we didn't buy a golf course, we just bought land, sir.
It's a golf course now, and if they do away with it, it's going to be land.
Lenny, it was a terrible idea, and I can't believe you're
No.
supporting it.
This is getting better than the Watertown High football game from the other
Oh,
day.
yes.
So,
Because you can see the divide that's been happening here with this thing. This thing is over and done with, and you're sitting there trying to give me that look to say, you sure it wasn't a dirty deal? Come on.
Come on.
I'll never vote to silence the public in any forum at all.
All right, well, we'll let the other...
Perception is reality.
At the other end of the table, Mr. Babcock.
Perception is reality. The perception here is something was a foul with this, and something definitely was a foul. I mean, if Mr. Samayo took in 800,000 or 1.7 million, whatever he took in the background, something's a foul there.
Mm-hmm.
Why would we pay to close an already closed golf course? I mean, that's just dumb.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and when the appraisal came back in after that it has 0 value, why are we paying? Why do we pay it? In my opinion, he owes us back 800,000 or 1.7 million dollars. So I mean, it is stupid. The perception here, which perception is reality, the perception here is something is a foul, and it should be looked at.
Well, Doc, did the city of Watertown get rolled on this deal? Or?
Well, I think we paid too much for it, but I'm not sure and I'm not trying to defend the purchase, but I'm not sure that we would have had an option to buy it at a different price based on the 2 individuals who put together the deal that they were offering to the city. So I don't defend it. It sounds to me like they were offered this take it or leave it kind of deal, and 3 people thought they should take that and 2 didn't. I don't blame developers for making money. Developers develop to make money, and so I don't think there's necessarily anything dirty going on there. And, you know, I like to deal with facts. It served me well the last 33 years when I was doing surgery, and you need facts. I haven't seen nobody's handed me a non-disclosure agreement, shown me a copy of it. Nobody's shown me documents that were signed. You know, I like to believe that people are basically honest people. You do have to count your fingers sometimes after deals just to make sure you weren't taken. But it's time to put it behind us. It's time to move on from this, and let's move on to something important. This golf course is done and over, and let's move on.
Very quickly, the pool, the 3rd pool, that's done and over also. But the question remains, do we need 3? And if you open the 3rd one on the north side, do you close the one at the fairgrounds? Anyone here say that they'll vote to close it?
Yeah, I will.
Mr. Babcock? Okay.
If the numbers say that we don't need 3 pools, then I think that's probably the logical one to go. It's the oldest and the one that's probably least well located.
Okay, Mr. Schoen?
I think what we have the money available to run is the most important aspect of it. It's not necessarily what we want, it's what we can afford. So if we can only afford 1 pool being open in years where money's tight, then that's all we're going to have. If we can afford 2 and people are using them, then 2 is fine. I don't see Watertown as a 3-pool city, but, you know, maybe we'll get lucky. We'll have a huge influx of people and cash, and things will be great, and we can do all 3.
All right. What say you, Mr. Spaziani?
We need 3 pools. Where did that 1 pool concept come from? Where did it come from? How about the $33 million job that's up there in Arsenal Street, in between Arsenal Street and Coffee Street? You know, he had 3 pools until the city got negligent and let 1 pool go. And then they let the north side go. And then you talk about transparency. They want to destroy the Altieri pool, and then say no. Then we're going to repair the north side pool when the north side pool is worse than the Altieri pool. I mean, we need 3 pools. The north side needs a pool. There's nothing wrong with the Altieri pool, and you got one up there. If the Y wants to say we got free swimming, then go for it. But no.
Okay. We'll take a little break here to get the blood pressure down again. And remind you that this Watertown Decides is brought to you by Herringer's Contracting, the roof people who call you back, and the LA Quarry, the destination for all your crushed limestone here in the North Country. Back with more in a moment.
Roof looking older than you are? Finding more tiles in your lawn than grass? It's time to call Herringer's Contracting. The roof people. Don't delay, though. Call them to set up a free estimate. Call them now at 782-9129 for Herringer's Contracting. The roof people who call
LA
you back.
Quarry is the destination for all your crushed limestone. LA Quarry's been providing crushed limestone of various shapes and sizes to the residents of the North Country since 1991. The Thompson family have owned and operated the quarry in Lafargeville and are dedicated to providing fast and friendly service. Their local delivery option is available many times on the same day. Whether you're a contractor, a homeowner, or a business owner, LA Quarry has the limestone to improve your driveway and your property. Located at 19309 Grove Cemetery Road in Lafargeville, just watch for the huge sign next to the cemetery. LA Quarry is now doing driveways and stone pad foundations. Call them at 315-658-2004. That's 315-658-2004. For fast delivery or pickup of your crushed limestone, rely on LA Quarry and the Thompson family and see them on Facebook. Call them at 315-658-2004.
Hey, this is Derek over here at Fusillo Subaru with Kevin, and we were talking about the 2024 new Subaru Outback today. What do we have going on this month, Kevin?
This month for Subaru Loves Pets Month, we have a special deal worked out for everyone up here in the North Country. We're going to save you $1,500 off every new 2024 Subaru Outback, plus we'll get you 4.9% APR until we sell out or till the month runs out.
Folks, what a huge deal. Save $1,500 plus 4.9% APR on every 2024 Subaru Outback in stock. We have a large selection to choose from, so I'm sure you'll find the right vehicle for you. And you can get that Subaru reliability with 96% of all Subarus sold in the last 10 years still on the road today.
Plus, they all get symmetrical all-wheel drive, and here at Fusillo Subaru, we're going to include 1 year of complimentary maintenance with every new and CPO Subaru sold. 2024 Outback, $1,500 off, 4.9% APR, symmetrical all-wheel drive, and 1 year of complimentary maintenance. That's what makes it huge.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with things I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of the disease called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, straight lines seem wavy, like when looking at a door frame. For others, blurry or missing spots can make it hard to read or see loved ones' faces. Many have trouble seeing in low light, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you've been diagnosed with AMD and notice vision changes, don't wait. Talk to your eye doctor about GA today. Learn more at GAWon'tWait.com. That's GAWon'tWait.com.
Marvin makes windows and doors for how you build. At OD Green, they know that means more than exceptional products. It's also quick lead times at a great value. Now through December 15th, OD Green is extending a 10% savings on Marvin's Elevate collection. In addition to lead times as low as 5 weeks, you'll enjoy the highest quality fiberglass windows and doors at the best value of the year. Contact OD Green on Route 11 in Adams or Route 3 in Sackus Harbor for a project estimate. Place your order by December 15th to take advantage of this rare Marvin Elevate collection opportunity.
The
Discover. This is Danny.
Hi, it's Jen Coolidge. I just want to thank you for making me feel so special. I earned cash back on debit for my dinner party groceries.
That's great. But with Discover Cashback Debit, we give everyone cash back on everyday purchases. Anything else I can help you with?
Are you hungry? 'Cause everyone left after the asparagus sorbet.
Introducing Discover Cashback Debit, a checking account with cash back. It pays to Discover. Eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashbackdebit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
This is Watertown Decides on AM 1240 WATN and 100.7 The Eagle. Once again, here's Jeff Graham.
Well, good evening, one and all. We're coming to you live from the Italian American Civic Association on Belleau Avenue in Watertown. And you're listening to Watertown Decides on WATN, Watertown, New York, and the Eagle 100.7, which is WEFX in Henderson. That said, we've got Glenn Curry here who has a question.
Actually, I have someone here who's well known to the community. It's SG, otherwise known as the dog park guy, with a question.
I've been 16 years trying to get a dog park in the city. I've had more people come to meetings and sign petitions and send letters than any other project in Watertown history. Looks like the current city council is going to go to court before election day even gets here, or we're going to be in a lawsuit before then because I'm done. But I guess I want your opinion on the dog park because I hope I can work with the new council. But this current one, they don't want to talk about it. So.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gates. Doctor, I think you had commented on it. You think advocacy for the dog park has to go to someone else to make it work?
Well, I haven't followed the dog park question for 16 years, and I do know that Mr. Gates has some passion over this. But when his passion overflowed at the last meeting and he left the meeting saying, I'm going to sue the city, I'm done with you, I'm suing, that told me that he's not somebody we should have a contract between the city and him to raise funds for a dog park. Now, personally, I'm not wedded to the idea of a dog park. I think we have 100 miles of streets in Watertown with sidewalks and tree canopies, and you can walk your dog wherever you want to. And I've read some studies or stories about dog parks and how the people think it's a great thing, but it's not so good for your dog often. And even though the city may be shielded from liability by providing it, the liability that comes up when your dog chews off another dog's ear is between you two in a civil court. That just creates more animosity. I am not greatly behind a dog park. I could maybe be shifted in favor of that, but I think it would take some other organization, or preferably an organization, to step up and say, we're going to back this and we're going to find funding for it.
Okay, Mr. Babcock, what do you think about dogs?
I have a dog. I have a beautiful chocolate lab, but I'm not for a dog park. You know, we go for walks on city streets all the time. She's a great dog. She doesn't bark at anybody. I mean, would she get along with other dogs in a dog park? Maybe, but I'm not for it. I mean, it's something we don't need to spend money on now. It's not something we need to spend money on in the near future with every other all the money we've already spent and the money we need to spend. Maybe 30, 40 years down the road, and if the city's flush with money, but now, no.
Mr. Spaziani, any thoughts on dogs?
Well, I love dogs, but I don't think the park's the right place to put it myself. I think down on Factory Street would be ideal, but that's my opinion. This is a loaded subject. It goes back and forth. I mean, again, the park's not the right place. We need a dog park. Maybe we need 2 or 3. When I worked out to Fort Drum, each community had a small dog park, which was great. Watertown this size, it's a tough call. You know, Mr. Gates will not work with the city. I mean, I like him and all, but he won't work with them. And so what do? You keep pushing it off a little bit until you can come to a consensus.
Okay. Mr. Schoen, I've been around for those 16 years that it was debated. Is it time to put it to an end?
I would love to not have to talk about it, because I do think, as much as I love dogs, and I've always had a dog since I was a child. I still do. I never personally thought that I needed to take my dog to a dog park, but maybe there are people that believe that. And if there's community support for it, can the community fund it independently? Would this be something that the SPCA would like to get involved in, as far as, you know, making the location, having some input, raising the funding, because they seem to be pretty good at raising funding. You know, is there a need for it? Is there a want for it? Who's liable for all this? And I know part of the issue is the city has offered up a few different areas for a location for the dog park over the years, and they were deemed unacceptable. I think if you really want to do it, if somebody's going to give you the spot, even if it's not exactly the spot that you want, maybe if you really want it, take the spot, get the dog park started, and then maybe eventually, if this is successful, then see about moving it somewhere else if you can, or expanding it, or having a second one. But just to fight it because it's not exactly what you want, it kind of defeats the purpose of it.
Okay. But all the council candidates like dogs. That's consensus.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Glenn, did you have any more questions from the audience? Well, I've got some more written ones if you don't. Oh, we got somebody over here.
Question from a current council
Oh,
member.
Mr. Hickey, how are you?
Hickey.
Hi there. I have one question. 2 years ago, Faith, Hope, and Charity gave the city a gift through National Grid of $6 million. Last year was $5 million. In future years, National Grid's contract, the power purchase agreement, will be increasing the change that we get per kilowatt hour. But whoever wins these council seats is going to be in a very important spot, because for the next 4 years, you're heading that much closer towards the end of the FERC license. And I guess my easiest question to all four of you is, who knows what our FERC license number is for our Marble Street location?
Well, okay, Doc.
I have no clue.
Okay.
And honestly, I don't think it's necessary for the city council members to know that. There is a professional staff of 300 some that are employed by the city, including the city manager at the top. We have an engineering department, a water department. I'm sure there are multiple people in the departments who know what that number is, and if I need it sometime, I'll ask them.
Okay. The hydro plant contract has been bandied about for some time. Everybody keeps saying we have to do something, but nothing ever seems to get done. Mr. Babcock, what do you think about that? That's a lot of money we're talking about.
Yeah, something does need to be done. I know that there was the commission there. I'm not opposed to the open ideas of selling the power back to the community. I'm not opposed to continuing to sell it, so that way we're still making something off of it. But I can honestly say I haven't really seen what the commission report was. I don't know enough about the situation yet to make a truly educated statement on it.
Mr. Schoen, what do you think about it?
Well, we've talked about this quite a bit. If we're getting 30 cents a kilowatt, or it's close to it, if we sell it back to the community is only going to pay what they're paying market rate for right now. So if they're paying 9 cents a kilowatt hour, that means we're losing 66% of that revenue no matter who we sell it to. So whether we sell it locally or we sell it to the grid, it's still a loss. So as nice as it seems like to say, oh, we're going to have municipal power, we're still going to have the loss of revenue. So you have to be able to make that up, whether you're selling it to your neighbor or you're selling it across the globe. So to think that that's going to solve it by selling it locally, it's not going to solve anything. You may save the homeowner a little bit of money on their national grid bill, but then they're going to have higher taxes to pay for it.
Okay. Mr. Spaziani, you were on council when these things were discussed at one point. Any thoughts on it?
Got a lot of thoughts, but I'm coming at it from a different angle, because what year is it? By the way, Pat, I wouldn't even guess what that number is, and I bet you a lot of people in the city don't even know it. However, I'm looking at it from the viewpoint of what years, 2028, 2030, we have an executive order from Albany that municipalities, their cars and vehicles all have to be electric. That should be our top priority right there. How much of that electricity, if Faith, Hope, and Charity are producing, is going to go to the city, being used by the city? Then what you have left over, that's what you have to worry about as far as selling. Because if we sell the hydro, let's say they sell it for $100 million, 20 years or less, that's gone. Then you're still stuck. You're still going to have to pay. But at least this way, if you plug in the city plugs in their cars and stuff, they're producing their own electricity, they're paying themselves. And that's like I say, that's the way I look at it. The dollar amount down the road, I don't know, because I'm not a professional. I want to see professionals come in and say, hey, let's go this route. And you and I disagreed on this when I was your radio show, but I still maintain that we should have to sit down with National Grid, Brookfield Power, in these people. They're the experts, not us, not our engineering department. They can tell us, and National Grid is not our enemy. I mean, they made a deal years ago. They have to abide by it. After that, you know, it is what it is.
Okay, well, you mentioned electric cars and so on. One of our audience members asked about whether there should be a climate smart committee, but I guess that broaches the issue. How far should the city go in endorsing this concept of a Green New Deal as articulated by the Biden administration, particularly replacing all of the vehicles and all of the expenses that go with that? Mr. Babcock?
What they've suggested that we do here in the near future isn't sustainable. Just about every power company in the United States has come out and said our power grids can't handle it. So this administration might be saying this, the next administration will reverse some of that, and we'll probably still be in the same situation, maybe a little bit better technology here in a few years. Because what we have now can't do it. Do I think full electric cars are the way, especially where we live? No, but hybrids maybe. You know, where you get your first 30, 40 miles off of electric, great. But those still take being plugged in. But it's what they're proposing isn't realistic. All the power companies come out and said it's not realistic. They can push this agenda, but they'll never be able to support it. As far as the city buying into it, we still have to abide by the law that the state sets, so we're going to have to continue to do that. It's just like every new parking lot has to have EV chargers in it. Whether we like it or not, they have to be there because that's the state law and we still have to comply.
Does this go to the point of like electric fire trucks and so on? I've heard the vice president talking about her love of fire trucks and all of that, and I'm just wondering, are we going to be forced to replace all of those? At what cost? Doctor, you're green, aren't you?
Well, let's not sell our technology down the river or something like that. I mean, the whole electric vehicle thing has come along in, what, 10 years or something like that? Who knows what we'll be able to do with battery technology and things in the future. I would bet in the future we will see electric fire trucks. And they're already working on big rig semis that work on a large battery pack. So, you know, maybe we aren't ready for that right now, but I think it behooves all of us who want to preserve the planet to consider better recycling, using electric vehicles when we can. I mean, there's a lot of people who probably never leave Watertown. You don't need a range of 300 miles if you're never going to go south of Syracuse and back. So electric vehicles would work for a lot of people. Unfortunately, they're kind of expensive right now. That will probably come down as well over the next 10 years. So I think we do need to, you know, comply with whatever laws are thrown our way. But as individuals, I think we should all choose to try and do what we can to preserve the environment.
Okay. Mr. Schoen, do you buy into all of this new technology?
As much as I appreciate the environment and breathing clean air, I don't see the electric car, the electric fire truck, the electric school bus being feasible long-term. And if you pay attention to any of the auto manufacturers or people who cover them, the demand for electric vehicles has actually been dropping significantly as of late. I think the F-150 Lightning that came out with great fanfare has had a complete shift cut because the demand is not there. And these are vehicles that are losing the auto manufacturers $30,000 to $40,000 per vehicle. The public doesn't really want it, and the drawbacks don't outweigh the benefits of it. I think, you know, cars have gotten significantly cleaner. If anybody, you know, breathed exhaust air from a car from 1980, you can remember that it was awfully dirty. Now you'd be lucky to see if you could smell anything. So I don't think it's feasible for us. And like Mr. Babcock mentioned, the chargers for parking lots, those things like that are adding significant cost to all of our infrastructure projects. Some of those chargers cost $40,000 to $50,000 each for a supercharger. And some parking lots have to have 4, 5, 6 of them. So add $250,000 to a parking lot, and then people are like, why is it so expensive to live here? Why do I want to stay in New York? It's too expensive for me. So they go other places where this isn't the issue. So I would say if Albany demands it, try to vote for better representation in Albany.
Okay. Mr. Spaziani, are you green?
My green? No. No. To answer your original question, should the city sign on to the state new green policy? No. The thing is that thick, and there's a lot in there, and it's just going to cost At minimum, I talked to contractors, 25 to 30% going to tack on, and then you add the other 25 to 30% with the shortages and everything else, and it's not sustainable for the average person. No, we should not be. We should not be in the position that we have to Albany can dictate to us everything that we do.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about decorum a little bit. That seems to have been an issue at council meetings in recent months, if you watch the meetings on TV. The behavior in some cases is outrageous. The comments made are shocking, at least for someone who presided over meetings for 20 years. And I like disagreement as much as the next person, but can this go on? I mean, what's the new mayor got to do to restore order to the council meetings? We'll start with Mr. Babcock.
I think you'll see a big change right away with that. Doesn't matter which one of them wins. Neither one of them are as feisty as Jeff or as feisty as Cliff. I don't think you'll see the bickering back and forth when that change happens. But I think it ought to stay professional. I mean, at times it's gone beyond the professional realm of name calling, of, to where it's no longer, it's all right to have disagreements. It's all right to get a little loud, but when it goes personal or it goes to those, it's not acceptable anymore, and someone ought to be able to say, stop. It's no longer, we're done.
Okay. Mr. Spaziani?
What the hell do you say? I mean, where do you go? We got no place to go but up. I gave myself a test this weekend. You're going to laugh at this. I think you should anyways. I was knocking door to door on our side. And my wife keeps saying, about Cliff this and that, Cliff that. And, well, we got problems, this and that. So I decided to give him a call and says, Mr. Only, would you like to walk door to door with me? I took that chance. Walked 2 days with him. Did we argue? You betcha. Did we agree? Maybe 5% of the time. But the thing that I learned, that if I was elected city council, I could reach out and work with Councilman Only and, make things just a little bit easier. Again, we agreed to disagree, and that was for 2 days, and it wasn't easy. That burr hurt a little bit.
Oh, I'm sure.
Listen, you're going to have a new mayor, regardless if it's Lisa or Sarah. You're going to have 2 councilmen, so you're going to, and a new city manager. Things are going to go forward, and they're going to be for the better. I think, you're bringing in different people. Yes, it's going to change.
Okay, Mr. Schoen.
I think with our new mayor, position is definitely going to be less argumentative. Hopefully the meetings go significantly smoother and they go faster. I think we're at the point right now where getting the last word in is more important than getting the right word in. And we don't accept someone else's opinion if it doesn't align with ours, and we're arguing about that. It'd be nice if you could listen to somebody else's opinion, disagree with it, but disagree with it internally, don't have the argument, make your peace, and if they don't agree, then just accept the fact that they don't agree with it and move on from that, because it needs to be a compromise. Nobody gets along all the time, even people who really, really love each other, been married forever. I'm sure they've argued thousands of times, so accept it and move on from it.
Okay, Dr. Kimball?
Yeah, well, it is kind of hard to imagine it getting worse, other than one of those foreign legislatures where people start throwing chairs and stuff like that. But, and this is part of what led me to apply for this job, if you will. But, it's not just the mayor. The mayor likes to poke the skunk and generate some controversy. He does. There's no doubt about that. Everybody's seen that. But there's a council member there who refuses to respect the office of the mayor as well. And that generates problems as well. So if he belittles the position of the chair of the city council, who is the mayor, and just ignores all the decorum that brings with it, then he doesn't deserve the respect of the other members anyway. So I think really there's it has to be self-policing, I think. But one thing that I think would be a good change in the council rules would be to eliminate the period of time at the end of the meeting where they all get to air their grievances and things, or limit that, just as we limit the public to 3 minutes during the privilege of the floor. At the end of the meeting, people bring out this whole laundry list of, oh, you did this to me and you did that to her and all that. Give them 3 minutes to bare their soul, and then let's move on.
All right, thank you very much. And with that said, we're going to take a break. I remind you, this Watertown Decides is brought to you by Herringer's Contracting and the good folks at LA Quarry. Back with more in a moment.
LA Quarry is the destination for all your crushed limestone. LA Quarry's been providing crushed limestone of various shapes and sizes to the residents of the North Country since 1991. The Thompson family have owned and operated the quarry in Lafargeville and are dedicated to providing fast and friendly service. Their local delivery option is available many times on the same day. Whether you're a contractor, a homeowner, or a business owner, LA Quarry has the limestone to improve your driveway and your property. Located at 19309 Grove Cemetery Road in Lafargeville, just watch for the huge sign next to the cemetery. LA Quarry is now doing driveways and stone pad foundations. Call them at 315-658-2004. That's 315-658-2004. For fast delivery or pickup of your crushed limestone, rely on LA Quarry and the Thompson family and see them on Facebook. Call them at 315-658-2004.
There's a lot of things that need changing. One of them could be your roof. If so, get Herringer's Contracting to fix it or replace it altogether. Don't delay, though. Call now to set up your free estimate. Call 782-9129 for Herringer's Contracting, the people who call you back.
Cash and Leanne heard about Mattress Express's new promotion where you simply come in, comfort test 3 mattresses, and get a $25 prepaid Visa card. They knew we had a location in Evans Mills in the Walmart Plaza next to Navy Federal Credit Union and one on Arsenal Street across from Dunkin' Donuts. They went to Evans Mills. They tried the Tempur-Pedic first. They loved it. 8 different Tempur-Pedics. They then tried a Stearns & Foster. They couldn't believe we had 9 different purple mattresses. They settled on the number bed by Instant Comfort, the Q9 King Flex Head. Cash liked his side firm. He was a 40. We elevated his head and feet. He said his back had never felt so good. Leanne liked her side softer. She was a 22. We elevated her head a little higher, her feet a little less. She said it was like having her own bed. They qualified for and signed up for the 5 years, no interest, no money down, not a nickel. Went to the list of luxury rewards and chose a 75-inch flat screen TV. Stop in, try any 3 beds at Mattress Express and get a $25 prepaid Visa card. Hurry!
Who's the best in the North Country?
Who's got the best wings?
What's the best bar? Who knows the best pizza? How about the best local brew?
What's the best car dealership?
Hundreds of people have already cast their vote.
The votes are coming in fast and furious.
Tell us who's the best in the North Country. It's the Best of the North Country contest.
Sponsored by LA Quarry, the destination for all your crushed limestone. They deliver, or you can pick up at the quarry in Lafargeville. Call them at 315-658-2004.
Vote online now at bestofnorthcountry.com. This is Watertown Decides on AM 1240, WATN, and 100.7 The Eagle. Once again, here's Jeff Graham.
Okay, thank you very much. We're live from the Italian American Civic Association on Bellevue Avenue in Watertown, and you're listening to Watertown Decides. We have the 4 city council candidates, Timothy Babcock, Dr. Robert Kimball, Ben Schoen, and Leonard Spaziani. You know, before Councilman Olney got on the council, I didn't know what a meme was, but I do now. And so on social media, there's a lot of memes, which are like cartoon characterizations. A lot of them are satire and harsh commentary on the council and other participants in city affairs. And we have something now, the Watertown meme page, which there's a reward out to find out who's behind it. I don't know if that's legit or not, but I guess it gets to the issue of decorum. And one of our listeners asks, would you be in favor of a social media policy for council members? Well, should you have that? And is what is going on now okay with everybody? I don't know. Let's start with you, Mr. Schoen.
As far as a policy, I don't know exactly what would be allowable. Is there something in our Constitution that defends the stuff that we get to disseminate across the internet? If it's in the official capacity of the city council member, I would expect them to be respectable with that. And I would hope that in their personal lives, they would also be respectable. I've seen some memes and videos and things that, to me, make me think that some people have too much time on their hands. if things are so important in the city, then why are you, defaming somebody, or you're putting somebody's head on a bulldozer, there's signs going up a street? I mean, it's really ridiculous and childish, and it goes just to the intellect level of the person, which I think is it's just disappointing. I would like to see no memes. Show up to the meetings, say your piece, get the work done, and go home and be civil to your neighbors. And it's really very simple.
Okay. Mr. Spaziani, do you think we need a social media policy?
You're asking the wrong person, because I'm not on the social media that much. I mean, I just stay right away from it. I think it's poison. It's ruined this country. You can't even converse back and forth anymore. Everything is like this. If I had to vote on it, I would probably say no, because I don't like being controlled, but I also don't like being bullied. So that's why I don't get on the social media. So,
I think that ship has sailed, though.
what's that?
That ship has sailed. I mean, that stuff.
You think?
Oh, trust me.
Well, I'm an old man.
Well,
okay,
so am I. So am I. Doc, what do you think about social media?
I've never looked at the meme page. I don't care what's on there. I think anybody who gets elected to city council ought to be mature enough to deal with whatever kind of meme somebody makes about them and just move on. It's not relevant to what needs to be dealt with by the city council.
Mr. Babcock?
I think you got to learn to ignore it. We get a lot about it because it's the local politicians in it, but if you look nationally, there's memes everywhere about politicians. I think the most famous one we see all the time is Trump in it, or Biden. You see a lot of memes about him. You just got to have thick skin, move on, and ignore it. I'm not on social media very much. I don't have time for it, but you just got to learn to move on and ignore it. The more credence you give it, the more it's going to happen.
Okay. A little earlier, I brought up the mayor's race, and we're going to get into that tomorrow night, but that's certainly escalating. If you saw the billboard on Factory Street this evening, and the intensity there is growing. I know you don't want to say who you're supporting, but it really defines you in many ways, because it does represent different viewpoints. And Mr. Spaziani, I take it you're supporting Councilwoman Ruggiero?
Why do you say that?
I just see the proximity of signs, and
Signs have nothing to do with it. You see signs on it all the time.
I know, but
All the time, but no. Let me say this.
Okay.
Where did it go? I had a press release. I brought it. I tried to stay out of the mayoral race because I worked with both Ruth Freightmonts. And when I was dragged in, even though she apologized and I said yes, but it still grinds me that Councilwoman Sarah Campbell-Pierce, and she dragged me into this was the sign thing. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And signs worded like mine are common practice during elections and do not violate election law. In fact, what my opponent fails to mention is that other individuals running for city office, including Mr. Spaziani, whom she supports, how the hell does she know? Because I didn't carry a signature with her, for her? Lisa asked me to carry her signature. I says, yes. I'm not going to go to Sarah and say, can I carry your petition? Okay? But this all started in February at the Republican Party. I call it the Republican Grand National Party at the Elks Club, when I was approached and I was told by this person, I'm voting for Sarah. Who are you voting for? I wanted to say it's none of your damn business. I mean, I was dragged into this thing. So if you're assuming that I'm going to vote for Lisa, then I guess I have to, Mayor.
okay, well then, there you go, and your endorsement is sought after, sir.
Well, I mean, come on. It is what it is. I think it's irrelevant up here myself, but it is what it is.
All right, Mr. Schoen, who are you voting for?
I think I was the first person during the last council debate, when there was 10 of us up here, that said that I was voting for Sarah Campbell-Pierce. I don't have any problem saying that, because it kind of goes towards transparency. You want to know who you're electing and what they stand for, and I believe in what she stands for, and I think it would align well with what the city needs right now. So I will, unless something drastic happens, that's who I plan on voting for.
Well, Doctor, you demurred on the issue earlier. Have you changed your mind? Do you want to bare your
No, I haven't
soul
changed
there?
my mind. This is the great thing about being a political newcomer, which is how I was labeled in all the press early in the campaign. I'm running on my own merits to get a job on the city council. I'll be happy to work with either of these talented women, whichever one becomes mayor. And I think it really is, and I don't see anything that I would disallow either one of them directly, but everybody has to look at the candidates themselves and say, who is going to represent what I want and what I stand for on the city council? And that's not for me to try and sway that one way or the other.
Okay, and Mr. Babcock.
I've said from the very beginning, and even when I get asked at the door, I'm voting for Sarah. It takes a lot to get out there and put yourself out there, and I have a lot of respect for Lisa because she's putting herself out there too, but my vote goes to Sarah.
All right, that said, we'll take some time out for a break and remind you, Watertown Decides, brought to you by Herringer's Contracting and LA Quarry. Be back in a moment.
LA Quarry is the destination for all your crushed limestone. LA Quarry's been providing crushed limestone of various shapes and sizes to the residents of the North Country since 1991. The Thompson family have owned and operated the quarry in Lafargeville and are dedicated to providing fast and friendly service. Their local delivery option is available many times on the same day. Whether you're a contractor, a homeowner, or a business owner, LA Quarry has the limestone to improve your driveway and your property. Located at 19309 Grove Cemetery Road in Lafargeville, just watch for the huge sign next to the cemetery. LA Quarry is now doing driveways and stone pad foundations. Call them at 315-658-2004. That's 315-658-2004. For fast delivery or pickup of your crushed limestone, rely on LA Quarry and the Thompson family and see them on Facebook. Call them at 315-658-2004.
Roof looking older than you are? Finding more tiles in your lawn than grass? It's time to call Herringer's Contracting. The roof people. Don't delay, though. Call them to set up a free estimate. Call them now at 782-9129 for Herringer's Contracting. The roof people who call you back.
Who's the best in the North Country?
Who's got the best wings?
What's the best bar? Who knows the best pizza? How about the best local brew?
What's the best car dealership?
Hundreds of people have already cast their vote.
The votes are coming in fast and furious.
Tell us who's the best in the North Country. It's the Best of the North Country contest.
Sponsored by LA Quarry, the destination for all your crushed limestone. They deliver, or you can pick up at the quarry in Lafargeville. Call them at 315-658-2004.
Vote online now at bestofnorthcountry.com.
Hey, this is Taylor Caprera from FX Caprera in the Bay. The kids are back to school and you're driving all over the North Country to their sporting events. How are you getting there? Let me guess. Is it a new Chrysler Pacifica van with the plug-in hybrid technology? Or is it a new Jeep Wagoneer with the factory cinema DVD players? The kids love that. Maybe a new Ram truck is more your style. Make your buddies jealous and show up to hunting camp with a new diesel. Even though the doors are going back on the Wranglers this fall, the hottest deals are waiting for you and they're just opening up. And for all you business owners out there, FX Caprera in the Bay is ready for the elements to come with new plow trucks in stock. You owe it to yourself to take the money-saving ride to the Bay, or hop on our website at fxabay.com. You'll find convertibles, highline sedans, budget-friendly SUVs, tons of trucks, and you'll even find off-road go-karts in stock right here at FX Caprera. And for our St. Lawrence County friends, don't forget our busy little country store in Canton. We have something for everyone.
This is Watertown Decides on AM 1240, WATN, and 100.7 The Eagle. Once again, here's Jeff Graham.
Well, thank you very much, and we're proud to come to you from the Italian American Civic Association of Watertown with our 4 city council candidates. I want to remind all of you that the 2 mayoral candidates will be on these stations tomorrow night from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. from the same location, and you're welcome to attend and ask questions and meet the candidates. Now, Glenn Curry has some more questions.
We have a question from the audience, Bill Kimball.
I am not related to the other Kimball. The City of Watertown unanimously has approved this climate smart committee process, which is a New York State designation. And this has been approved, that was mentioned last night at the meeting. So how would you prioritize this, and what can you contribute to this? Because this is part of what the council is going to be working on, to get climate smart New York State zero carbon emissions by 2050. Thank you.
Okay, there's an environmental question for you. Any thoughts on it?
You know, I actually spent some time on Mr. Kimball's porch discussing this actual thing. And you know, there's a lot that can be done there. I mean, we actually went quite into depth into localized nuclear power plants. I mean, and they're actually working on these out in California. I don't know, I mean, I think in the near 20, 30 years from now, they'll be very few, or very feasible. They're not quite there yet. They actually bury them down in the ground. But as far as getting there in 2050, there would have to be a lot of work to be done, and a lot of upgrades to our current electrical system. I mean, zero carbon emissions, possible by 2050, maybe. I don't, with the different changes in administrations, I don't know that we'll get there. But as far as the city goes, we need to do what we can that's financially, that we're financially able to do without breaking the bank.
Okay. Dr. Kimball, you'll take the question from Mr. Kimball, and we just have to clarify, as I did on the hotline today, you're not related to the lady named Kimball running for treasurer.
Let's clarify this once and for all. Dr. Kimball's a psychologist. Dr. Kimball is a retired surgeon. We're not related. And Dorina Kimball, who's running for county treasurer, is also not related to any of us. None of us are married, not Bill and I, not Dorina and I, none of us. Yeah. So.
Okay, there you go.
And
So-
none of us is looking for the one-armed man, Jeff, so just let it go. I'm going to admit my ignorance of what would be required in the, in this process, and say that would require more study on my part.
Mr. Schoen?
I'm not completely certain what we can do as a municipality. I think it's very expensive for us to have to take care of this mandate that the state put on, and I think if you follow politics over the years, you've heard the phrase unfunded mandates. The state offers up a lot of them. They make rules and regulations and pass them down to local municipalities and expect them to pay for them without any additional funding. And will this drive more people out of the state? I think it will. What is the cost of increasing our electrical grid to the point where it has to be able to tolerate all of this electric usage? You know, what does it take to produce billions of feet of copper wiring, to produce these, you know, transformers and switchgear and all of that? So at what point is there a payback? Is this the best decision for the state? And hopefully there'll be a compromise between some clean electric energy and an efficient use of carbon fossil fuels.
Okay. Any thoughts, Mr. Spaziani, on fossil fuels?
I'm just looking through the audience here, and I think once that becomes 100% fruition, most of us won't even be here. You don't stop and think about it. I'm 77 years old, Mr. Kimball. I don't think, you know.
You aged a year
Well,
tonight.
the future is theirs. What they want to do is bankrupt this whole thing. I mean, the grid can't handle it. You know, it's a lot of it's far-fetched, and it's above a lot of our pay grade, because you're talking some pretty smart people to design these things, and I don't know. Except right now, I'm afraid of it. Okay.
Okay, very good.
We have another
Glenn Curry has a question.
Come on up
Mrs.
here.
Dermody?
North Side resident?
I am a Northside resident and proud of it. I would like to say one thing about zero tolerance. Yes, am a retired teacher, but once a teacher, always a teacher. And I want to say, in the various schools, they have zero tolerance when it comes to bullying. I want to tell you, probably about 10 years ago, a good friend of mine, her son went to school one day, and because of these lovely iPhones and memes and all these bullying tactics, he received a phone call. Someone had taken somebody else's cell phone, and they said to him, "Go ahead, go home and kill yourself. Nobody cares about you." And he did. He did. His parents drove home and found him dead. I want to tell you that bullying, no matter where it is, should not be. I want to tell you also that meme page, I blocked it, but I hear constantly about the bullying that's being done. How our city council and how our mayor can allow such things is beyond, I just can't believe it. The city of Watertown. My question is this: what do you believe about bullying and zero tolerance with our city of Watertown?
Okay, we'll ask about bullying at the council meetings. Mr. Babcock.
Well, it's going both ways because there's a new billboard on Factory Street. And memes have been going on a lot longer than the current city council as far as negativity and stuff like that. I understand with children. I mean, I have four young children. A couple of mine have been bullied in school. And as far as schools having zero tolerance, I don't quite believe that because of what I've seen with my own children and stuff that's been gotten away with. They might say they have the policy, but it's truly not there. As far as adults, you know, you have the choice to look at it and ignore it, or you have the choice to pay attention and give it motion. The more you pay attention to it, the more you give it that. It's just like with kids, the more you react to them, the more you're going to get out of it. Same thing as adults. You have the choice to ignore it and move on. Ms. Dermody, you chose to block the page, which is great. But the more people do it and talk about it, the more it's going to give it. You know, if it's going to, end, you're the only one who gets to choose whether or not it affects you.
All righty, let's talk about bullying. Go to Mr. Schoen. Are you in favor of it? Or?
Well,
You still beat your wife's
no, I'm definitely not a supporter of the bullying, not a fan of the memes, not a fan of the billboards, not a fan of the trash talk, just disparaging comments. But if you're going to say you don't support the bullying, then don't support somebody who also has their own bullying page in who bullies people at meetings. I've sat in the audience. I've been criticized from council during the meetings and, for saying my piece as a city resident and a taxpayer. So don't be hypocritical.
Right.
Don't be, there's no reason to
bully.
bully.
Who does the bullying at city council meetings?
If you watch enough council meetings, if you go to the council meetings, you'll see who does it. And it's not always just one person, but it's very evident. I've drawn the ire of a council member a time or two for expressing my opinion as a taxpayer, and I think that's wrong. And to put somebody on a meme page is, ridiculous. But don't say it's just one-sided, because it's definitely not one-sided. It's either way. I don't agree with it. Whoever's making it for either side.
Well, that billboard that went up today refers to sitting members of council as stupid. You can't fix stupid, it says, and you people are stupid. That's basically what it says. I don't think I've ever seen that in city politics before. Have you, Doctor?
Just want to point out, he can pay for that, but he can't pay his taxes.
There you go. Wow.
Wow.
That was Mr. Babcock who said that.
Yeah, give him credit for that. Well, I'm not in favor of bullying, certainly. My comment earlier was that if you've been elected to city council, you've gone through an election, you've faced the voters who voted for you and against you, you should be able to tolerate somebody putting some memes on a web page and just let it roll off your back. Now, if you're talking about 13-year-old girls, your daughter, your children, there should be a zero tolerance policy for that. But part of that is that the parents have to set some limits on some of these electronic devices, and I think a lot of parents have just abrogated their responsibility to their children to limit their time, limit what they're exposed to. You can find anything on the internet now, from gang rape to beheadings to anything, not just bullying. So it's up to the parents to assert their authority to help protect their children from things. And also, if they're aware of some bullying at school, it's their responsibility to report that to the school. So, but as far as the city council being exposed to memes, so what?
Okay. Mr. Spaziani, you ever run into any bullies in your lifetime?
You kidding me? But it's always been bullying, but today it's just different. Years ago, you had to fight or run. You had no choice.
Yeah.
Really. Today, the people are mean. I lived down here. They had a lot of bullies. And I knew where all the tomato plants were to throw at them and all that. But that's beside the point. Today, the bullying is different. It's mean. There's no respect. And I agree with the doctor that if you're in a political position, you better have thick skin. Do I like it? No. Can I stop it? No.
Okay.
So you could just bob and weave and avoid it and do your job as a council person and go.
We had a question called in, I think it was about the flower pots in front of Key Bank. Is that Glenn?
Privilege of the microphone. And also I have a retired Channel 7 news anchor who has a question. A question from a well-known local developer who's not present right now asked if the candidates believe the downtown needs the flower pots or to find more parking spots for local merchants. Considering no one on city council knew they were going in, according to this person, and nobody on council knew they were taking out 2 handicap spots and 2 normal spots as well. Weird wording. 8 total spots were lost in that area, and 15 spots lost on Court Street alone. What are your thoughts on that as councilperson?
Okay, that's a complicated question. There's the flower pots in front of Key Bank. Do you want them demolished? And then, I guess if you want to backfill on the whole downtown projects, you can do that too. Mr. Schoen?
Before that flower pot project got completed, I went to the meeting and I voiced my opposition to the placement of those, and I wish that they would have been removed. And I said it would be cheaper to remove these now before the project gets finished and the concrete's placed all the way around them. And I was told that, oh, we have to re-engineer it, and I've said this multiple times now. We had the original survey from before the road was redesigned, so we didn't have to re-engineer it. We could have put them back. I believe in government taking accountability for its mistakes. If you make a mistake, acknowledge it, fix it, and move on. Don't double down on it and cost us more money eventually. I don't agree with some of the things that have been happening, you know, with the roads. I tried to go down Arcade Street today. The roof is getting done, so the road was closed. I was turning by the Roswell flower statue, and I kind of got stuck. Well, I had to run over 2 bump outs in order to make a U-turn on Washington Street today, which a year ago I would not have hit. So do we need that stuff? Do we need to lose handicap parking spots? Do we need to lose any parking spots? Do we need to encumber people's ability to traverse the city or park anywhere? I don't think so. And we should listen to the people that pay the taxes and use these properties more.
Tear them out.
I would have torn them out already.
Okay. All righty. What about you, Mr. Babcock?
They should have never went in to start with. I mean, there's enough, it's hard enough to park downtown now. If you go down there on an afternoon, I usually go to the barber shop there in the square. It's hard enough to find a parking spot. You usually end up having to park either in the city hall parking lot and walk over or park down below in JBY.
But it's going to cost money now to re-engineer it.
I think the last number I heard was 200,000.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. You know, I mean, 200,000 bucks to knock out some concrete and then re-engineer to put back in what we had. It's ridiculous. It's a waste of money. It was a waste of money to do it. And they brought up Court Street. I don't like how that turned out either. I mean, I get revitalization, but the planning on that wasn't great either.
Okay. Doctor?
Well, I guess I'm going to disagree with my other candidates up here. I would leave the planters. They're not flower pots. They're much bigger than that. I would leave the planters where they are. I told one of the developers of that property that that's what I would do. I would not take those out and try and rebuild that. I have never found trouble parking downtown, you know, whether it be in the arcade lot or down on the, just on the street behind the library, in the city lot behind the Historical Society. There's a lot of darn parking down there. And I don't believe that the loss of two parking places or whatever it is, 1 or 2 parking places in front of that particular building because of those planters is materially going to affect the commerce that goes into that building. I'm just not convinced of that. So I would leave them right where they are, but if we're going to leave them there, then we need to do something with them in the spring and plant some nice something in there.
Okay. What do you think, Mr. Spaziani?
DRI. When that came, I was on council when that was voted on. I voted against that whole thing, okay? And the flower pots, shame on the people that put them in and did not go to council. No transparency there, yet the council got blamed for it. All right, that's number one. I agree with Mr. Schoen about you already had the original design. Why do you have to spend that kind of money to put those flower pots back in? And as far as Court Street goes, it's a travesty. I remember when it was presented, the mayor and I both questioned, why are you taking the parking away? And then, well, we'll redesign it a little bit. But then when they came back, well, we're only going to lose so many. I do not remember the backing up for the parking. However, I will tell you this, I had talked to the consultant who was designing that, and he told me that when they were walking down through there, the person from the planning department disappeared. No one had any idea where he went. So they kept talking, well, we'd like to do this, like to do that. He came back and he says, it only takes 5 minutes to walk from the Butler Pavilion up here. So that being said, they did what they did because they could. There was no blowback from anybody. And they happened to get caught this time, okay? But the bottom line is that who runs the city? The department heads? Who has the final say? They should have came back to council. Maybe council would have said, okay, approve it. Maybe not. You wouldn't have you wouldn't have this problem. But I maintain that the people that are in charge of this stuff, they are known as dreamers. They have their thought. Don't push it on to the rest of us people. Simple.
Okay, very good. So we have I think we got through. We have a question from an esteemed.
Very esteemed Brian Ashley, ladies and
Okay.
gentlemen. For full disclosure, I'm actually here as the vice chair of the Friends of Thompson Park. I know you've talked a lot about the zoo, and the city had allocated $4 million for Thompson Park, executed an excellent master plan, and has clawed back most of that money. I hate to see another study sit on a shelf and gain dust. If we are able to solve the water issue, do you have any commitments to restoring those funds so that we can continue to beautify what is well known as the gem of not only the city but of our area, and continue with the unanimous support that we've had from the current council?
Okay, Thompson Park and the future of it. A lot of exciting things have happened there recently. We'll just go down the line. Mr. Babcock?
I like that they cleared out a lot of the park, made it a lot more visible. I do think that, I heard that they threw around the idea of putting in Frisbee golf. That's actually gained a lot of steam. At some point, I heard there was some money to put in some pickleball courts, and I've heard a lot about pickleball courts as I've knocked on doors. People really want those up there. Never played pickleball, so looks fun though. But I would like to see more done with the park. The park is our greatest asset. It's the greatest asset the city has. We do need to do more with it. It just might take a little longer, a little more over time. Not maybe spend as much at a time, but over the next few years, spend money there, because it truly is our greatest asset.
Doctor?
Yeah, I'm in favor of upgrades to the park as possible. I was there when they returned that ARPA money back into the kitty so that they could put that toward other issues. I think part of that went toward the initial engineering recommendations for the water treatment plant. And I see that we're going to proceed with some of the trails that the Friends of Thompson Park had recommended, though perhaps with crushed stone instead of paved. But I'm all in favor of doing improvements up there. I think they'd be more incremental, taking one smaller project at a time rather than trying to put $3 million into it all at once, though.
Okay, Mr. Schoen?
Like I said, I grew up next to the park, less than a block away, and I utilized it much as a child, and I do now the golf course regularly and other parts of the park. Mr. Kimball, it's an excellent asset to the community. But spending has consequences, and the fact that money had to be taken back because of possibly some spending that wasn't done appropriately or utilized correctly is disappointing, because we only have so many natural assets in this area that the city owns, and it's essential for us to take care of those assets and those free spaces. We could definitely make better decisions, but I'm a supporter of taking care of the park and making it more usable and user-friendly and a better place for everybody to use.
Mr. Spaziani?
My question would be, is there grant money out there that the city could pursue? If there is, let's go for it. But I agree with the rest of the ARP funds. When I saw that they were going to go up, put them in up there for the trails, I didn't like it, but I didn't have a vote on it. Now, if they want to spend, if they can get $1 million for grants, go for it. But the ARP funds should come back, sidewalk program, whatever. You got to give back to the community. not everybody goes to the park. Not everybody can walk up to the park or drive up to the park. That's just, so it's just a certain group of people, but it is an asset. And it can be nurtured, but not so fast.
Okay. Well, you know, the time has flown. It's been a pleasure here, and of course, we want to thank all of our questioners here at the Italian American Club, as well as the club, for hosting this. But we also want to give our candidates a chance to make a little last pitch to the voters. So let's go down the other way. We'll start with Mr. Spaziani, give you a minute each.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Mr. Levin and you for hosting this, and everybody coming here and listen to me expound what I feel, but even if you disagree with me, make sure you vote. I've had at least 8 months' experience on council. I have a very good idea what goes on, and there's a lot that goes on. And again, I'm running on clarity, sincerity, and transparency, and I mean it. And the council people that are out here now know that I agree with that. And I think I'm a good candidate for the next 4 years because I want to see the water byproduct and hydro taken care of before 2030. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Schoen, closing remarks.
Yep. One of my friends at the water department let me know that FERC number is 2442. Just to let you know,
2442?
2442. Nobody has been to more council meetings in the last 3 years that is sitting up here than I have. Nobody has been more transparent in their views, whether it's popular or not popular. Nobody has more interaction with city staff than I do. Nobody has more experience in housing, rehab, and development. I've been self-employed for 25 years, and I've been accountable to myself and my customers, and I'm fiscally responsible, and I like to take that experience and bring that to the city to make this a better place for all of us.
Thank you. Dr. Kimball?
Well, I am a political newcomer, but not a newcomer to life. And so I think my demeanor is such that I am not going to be involved in issues that would be considered embarrassing to the community while at a city council meeting. I have prior experience on a number of boards, whether it be the session at my church or the board of the foundation at Samaritan Medical Center, and worked within a broad range of committees at the hospital over the years on different issues. So working with people in that area is something that I'm well familiar with. I have business experience. The first 20 years of my career, I ran my own business and recognized that if the receipts are slow, then it's my salary that goes down. And when the receipts pick up, then I'll pay myself back again. And so I have business experience in that regard. And I learned medicine, which is a fairly technological-oriented specialty. And so there's not that much difference between arteries and veins and sewer pipes and plumbing and things like that. So I think I can catch on to what needs to be known for engineering around the city. So I put myself forward as somebody that I think is qualified, and I would request your vote, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You can applaud. Mr. Babcock.
I just want to thank everybody for showing up tonight and thank Mr. Levin and you, Mr. Graham, for doing this. Jeff, I know you've counted me out. My stepdad was kind enough to point that out on the car drive back last night that you mentioned it on the radio the other day. I don't feel I'm out of it yet. I do bring a lot of business experience with me. I've been in business now for 27 years running plants and other people's money. I wouldn't be in the position I was in if I wasn't good at it. You know, I might not be as polished as other people, but I will always be honest, transparent, and be willing to share my understanding of the facts I have at the time. And you know, I'm always open to hearing more. It's never a closed door. You have to be open and then make your decision based upon those facts. And that I can guarantee that I will do if I'm elected into office.
Thank you, gentlemen. And a reminder that tomorrow night we will be hosting the two council members who are seeking the mayor's post. Hope you join us at 6. And Mr. Levin has a remark.
Are we blessed to have these candidates? Yes, I can't talk. But are we? We have an enormous opportunity here, and hopefully this brought some of the issues to light. Hopefully you'll all go out and vote. If you're not here, even more so. Go out and vote. We'll be back with the mayoral debate tomorrow night, And thank you very much for the candidates, for Jeff Graham, for Ken Martin, who developed this whole thing. And thank you for coming and listening. Thank you very much.
You've been listening to Watertown Decides, the City Council debate. Tomorrow night at 6, the candidates for Watertown Mayor face off. This has been an exclusive presentation of Community Broadcasters, 100.7 The Eagle, WEFX, Henderson, Watertown, and AM 1240 WATN.